Why would you voluntarily isolate yourself, which is something that we have created as the worst punishment for the worst of the worst of the worst people out there? Why would you isolate yourself from friends, family, your social circle, or humans in general? You are doing nothing but punishing yourself. And now, if it's not you, it's your friend, it's your family, it's your partner, it's your child, it's someone in your life that has suddenly started to isolate themselves. Welcome to The Bear Perspective. I'm Bear Malik. I'm a student of life and I study psychology. I want to share with you some lessons and perspectives that I wish I could have learned a lot sooner in life. I want to talk about SAD. I don't mean sadness, I mean seasonal affective disorder, or depression, depending on who you're talking to. And sometimes it's called winter blues. But I want you to first of all recognize that SAD is a real medical condition to begin with. Specifically, it's actually considered a subtype of depression. But it's a type of depression that predictably comes and goes and around seasonal patterns. For some people, it's around winter, which is why it gets the name winter blues. And in the UK, it's been reported to affect up to like 2 million people. In the US, it's about 20% of the Americans. Now, if you do the maths, that's 65, 70 million people. So who's affected by SAD, and when does it strike? So, SAD, seasonal affective disorder, rates the highest in the northernmost regions of the world. Northern states of the Americas, the northern parts of the UK. The closer you get to the poles, basically, where the amount of sunlight varies way more dramatically, especially with the seasons. Some places where they don't have sunlight for almost 6 months of the year. And so what are the symptoms? The symptoms of SAD, they mirror clinical depression. And this was stuff like a persistent low mood or depressive feelings that last more than a couple of weeks. You lose interest in normal and just everyday activities, from enjoying your morning cup of tea to not going on the bike ride, and you'll come up with excuses, or there were hurdles and barriers in place to stop you from doing that thing that you loved. This then gives you a reduced battery of energy. Your energy levels are much lower, and they're often described as feeling sluggish, half sleepy, just being generally tired throughout the day. And this, in turn, affects your sleep. Typically, it's the need for sleep, or having a great difficulty in getting up in the mornings, oversleeping. And then this looming tiredness, lethargy, or just sluggishness, in turn affects your social circle. You end up withdrawing from your social activities, from the people you enjoy spending your time with, the family or the friends that you want to see on a regular basis. The Sunday dinners disappear. The weekly catch-up with a sibling, with your best friend, the daily cup of tea with your neighbour kind of withdraws. And So that's all internal, but physically, your appetite can change. You get aches and pains here and there, and in some cases you increase your appetite because people find solace in food. People eat for comfort rather than nourishment. And then you start craving things like just high carbohydrate foods. Your chips, your breads, your cakes, your biscuits. And then this leads to weight gain. Then that's another thing that's making you sad. And that's another thing that's on your mind. And it's a downward spiral. Now, I'm also going to mention that it's not only for winter. There's a reason it's called seasonal affective disorder, not winter affective disorder. Because there are less common versions of it where people are affected in the spring, in summer, autumn. And these kind of people feel depressed, but they also experience anxiety, agitation. They have trouble sleeping because of the daylight being longer or the daytime being longer. And some people will go through this like a hypermanic or a hypomanic episode where they've got more energy, very, very close to mania or being manic. Okay, so what's the science and what's the histories, the hows and the whys? I want to answer, why does this actually happen? And we'll try and get to as close to the exact cause of SAD, but it's not fully understood. I don't understand it, and not many other scientists, psychologists, psychiatrists fully understand it. But it's consistently linked to a few things that I want to discuss. Now, the leading scientific theory so far is that it's the lack of sunlight or the reduced exposure to sunlight. This prevents a part of your brain, without getting too technical, that's your hypothalamus, right? And it stops it from working properly. This malfunction, I guess, is going to cause 3 knock-on effects. So one of the first things is your hormones. That goes completely imbalanced. It disrupts and the production of some of the crucial hormones that you actually need day to day. Specifically, it's going to lead to a decrease in serotonin. That's the feel-good chemical in your body. And then you've got neurotransmitters in your brain associated with positive mood, sleep, and happiness. That they all link in with serotonin. And there are some natural changes in serotonin levels in our brains between winter and summer. It also increases the production of melatonin, the hormone that makes you feel sleepy, the one that helps you fall asleep, the one that people artificially take to fall asleep. Now, your body naturally goes up and down in these hormone levels from summer to winter. And if you think of it from our lizard brain times or the caveman times, the shorter days triggered that part of the brain to say, okay, the days are shorter, we won't be able to effectively hunt, gather food and stuff at night, so let's just go to sleep. Let's switch on all the go-to-sleep mechanisms in our body. So the other thing it affects is your circadian rhythm. And again, this is the lack of light that throws your body into this complete imbalance. Your internal clock is out of sync. your body doesn't know whether it's time to wake up, go to sleep, or you're just fatigued and tired. So beyond like the medical, I've kind of touched on this, we can look at the why through this evolutionary and historical kind of lens. The symptoms, or the apparent symptoms of the winter SAD, the oversleeping, the craving heavy carbohydrate foods, gaining weight from that. Now, they're all functional drives for survival from, again, the caveman days. You want to pack on as much fat to survive through the winter. It's one of the reasons why bears hibernate through the winter. They go on a feeding frenzy, eat all the berries and everything they can get stuffed with, and they go hide in a hole for all of winter. Now, for our ancestors, the only way to endure the cold and the scarcity of food, plants, animals of winter was basically to build up this fat reserve and sleep through most of the days while you've got these cold nights. So in essence, these symptoms, I guess, served like an amazing survival function that we used to use and rely on before the days of radiators, indoor heating, air conditioning, your 9-to-5 job that lasts all year round, with maybe a couple of weeks for rest in the middle. Our bodies are still wired for hibernation. Our bodies are still... They don't know that we now have a bank account and a life and other responsibilities like the PTA or a Reddit mod, right? Your body still thinks it's thousands and thousands of years ago, where winter's approaching. I might not have much food, so I better start packing on the pounds now. So how do you cope with it today? And this is all going to be evidence-based as best as I can approach it with. So if you or someone you know is struggling, there are several effective evidence-based treatments that are available. Now, your health provider, like your GP, might recommend a few combinations of these options based on how severe your symptoms are and other factors, your comorbidities, your other issues, your other medical conditions. But let's split them up into a self-help, light therapy, talking therapies, and then, last of all, medication. So what do I mean by self-help? I mean life adjustments or lifestyle adjustments, I guess. These are going to be relatively simple, but really effective. You can do at home by yourself. So you want to maximize sunlight exposure. This is something I've spoken about on the radio station before. You want to try and get as much natural sunlight as possible. Even stepping away from your work desk, for between 5 to 10 minutes. You can go for a 5-10 minute walk outside during lunch. That can be really helpful. And the key is you can also wake your body up in the morning. So as soon as you wake up, try to step outside. No sunglasses, no glasses. Just sit there absorbing the sunlight, literally, between 2 to 10 minutes. Now, I don't mean literally absorbing the sunlight. Having the sunlight out there in the mornings has multiple different knock-on effects. It wakes you up through different mechanisms within your brain that I won't necessarily go into too much, but the sunlight out there coming into your eyes without a filter of your reading glasses, your seeing glasses, your sunglasses, or a window, or the UV protection, anywhere between 2, 3, 4 minutes to 10 minutes, even on a cloudy day, is enough to trigger the right mechanisms in your head to get you up. You want to also brighten your environment. Make your home and your bedroom, your work areas, your desk at work as light and airy as you can. Sit near a window if possible. Catch natural light coming through the day. You don't want to be sitting in direct sunlight for other reasons, but I'm not going to go into that. Then exercise. Now, we all hear this, and I'm personally guilty of this as well. For years and years and years, I know in the back of my head I should be exercising, or I would like to be exercising. But knowing that and acting on it are two different things. So take this as your call to action. You know you need to exercise. Regular exercise is essential to fix your low mood, your depression. It's particularly helpful for if you do it outdoors in the daylight, because that's where humans did all of their exercise back when we were cavemen. We didn't sit in a dark cave running after mammoths and deer and all sorts. We did it outside. So your body has mechanisms to make it more efficient and make it better, and it just works without going into too much of the nitty-gritty. Social connections. Humans are social creatures. Do what you can to socialize with friends, with family, especially in the winter. People who naturally tend to spend less time together. So you need to make an effort. You need to connect. You need this because it's crucial for preventing isolation of others and yourself. If you have a friend that you love dearly as your best friend or as a person that you care for deeply, and you speak to them once every couple of days to once a week to once a month, you care for them, and if they suddenly start isolating themselves, you would like to be there to help them. Go visit them, ask them to come visit you. Make a plan to stop that isolation. I'm gonna go off on a little mini tangent here before I speak about sleep and managing stress. On the topic of isolation, we as human beings have ways of punishing other human beings for the most worse and grotesque of violent crimes. First of all, we isolate them from the rest of the community by putting them in prison or in jail. Now, what do you do to those within the prisons and the jails who are the worst of the worst? You isolate them even further into, okay, these guys have committed fraud, stole some candy, stole a car, and then you've got the ones that violently hurt someone, almost killed someone. They took a gun into a shop to rob them, and that is a violent behavior. We segregate them from one another. Now, even from them, we have the worst of the worst of the worst. The ones who did commit murder, the ones who did commit some unspeakable crimes, that they cannot hang out with the worst of the worst. They must be isolated even further. And then even then, if those people have still not found redemption, have still not learnt to behave the way the community wants them to behave, we literally isolate them in a room alone. In my opinion, that is the worst punishment we have come up with, aside from the death sentence, for example, for one human to do to another, to isolate that human. From the tribal era, from when we were cavemen again, I guess. If there was one guy who had done something that the rest of the community or the tribe did not like, we isolated him. We banished him from the community. We told him to bugger off. So it's inherently built into us. We are social creatures. So why would you voluntarily isolate yourself, which is something that we have created as the worst punishment for the worst of the worst of the worst people out there? Why would you isolate yourself from friends, family, your social circle, or humans in general? You are doing nothing but punishing yourself. And now, if it's not you, it's your friend, it's your family, it's your partner, it's your child, it's someone in your life that has suddenly started to isolate themselves, and you are not only allowing them, but you're part of the reason that they are being isolated, because you have not made an effort to reach out to them. So if you want to protect the ones that you care about, if you want to be there for the ones that you care about, don't allow them to isolate themselves. That's where depression grows. That's where it gets amplified, in isolation. That's where loneliness gets worse. I'll speak on that more eventually. But to stick to the topic right now, we have sleep hygiene. What do I mean by sleep hygiene? No, it's not sleeping in a clean environment. It's more, although that is a good idea, keep a regular sleep schedule and a regular waking schedule. Try to eliminate your midday long naps and turn off your technology. We've made excuses for ourselves that, just before going to bed, we'll read a book. It's too dark, so I'll read it on my phone, I'll read it on my iPad, I will read it on a laptop. But it's light. I don't care if it's blue light, red light, sepia light, it's light. You're not supposed to have light at nighttime. So at least an hour before bed, treat it as if you are that caveman. Or cavewoman, I guess. The sun goes down, that is your mind's trigger to, okay, let's turn on all the sleep mechanisms. Let's go to bed. So no more light. About an hour and a half ideally, before you go to bed. And you'll be surprised how well just those things work. And again, these are things that we know. We already know them inherently. It's something that we tell others all the time, and it's something that we've been told multiple times. We just need to act on it. Now, lastly, there's managing your stress. There are techniques like yoga. There's techniques like meditation. And all of these will and can help with stress. And I know there's some of you out there who don't want to do yoga, don't want to do meditation, and don't want... But my immediate response to that is don't knock it until you've tried it. And meditation has been shown to help in many, many different circumstances. Again, on a light little tangent here, I suffer from ADHD, and I have a lot of people in my circle who suffer from ADHD. And some people get medicated for ADHD. Now, the medication just flips on and off a mechanism within your body. It's up to you to point that mechanism in the correct direction. It's like, I forget who put it like this, but they said it's like putting fuel into your car. And now that car has a brick on the accelerator and it's just going to keep going. But with no one at the wheel, it's just going to go in circles, or it's going to go down a path, and you don't know what to do. Imagine meditation is like getting control of that car, being the person behind the steering wheel. Meditation allows those people with ADHD to steer that concentration and that effort into a productive direction. I believe the study, I forget where the study was done, but I believe the study was, once you gave these ADHD drugs to a demographic of people with ADHD, it was amazing. They could concentrate for long periods of time. They also ended up playing video games for 8 hours straight. But the change was meditation. So when you're meditating, you're focusing on one particular thing. It could be breathing, a phrase, or something in your mind. And every time your mind drifts off into a different direction, you're trying to bring it back, or you bring it back. So if you're meditating with breath work, for example, you breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in for 4, breathe out for 4. Breathe in for 4, breathe out for 4, for however long you want to meditate for. Now, while you're concentrating on breathing, your mind gets bored and you think, oh, what should I have for dinner tonight? Then you've got to stop yourself and think, nope, breathing. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, do I need to top up the air in my tires tonight? Nope, I'm getting distracted again. So bring yourself back. And that kind of technique of meditation allows you to practice that thing of making those course corrections. And eventually, when you are in your day-to-day life and you need to focus on a task, and all of a sudden you get somewhat distracted or have a new side mission to complete, you can always go to yourself, no, I was focusing on this, and this is where my focus needs to be, so let's course correct. We can deal with this later. We can make a note of it and deal with it another time. So don't knock yoga or meditation until you've tried it and given it a good, honest try. The second thing, light therapy. With light therapy, it's also sometimes called like bright light therapy, is quite popular at the moment, and it's been a very, very effective treatment for SAD. And how it works is it involves setting up a very special lamp called a light box. And the light box emits an incredibly bright light. Now, it's trying to simulate the bright light of summer and the sunlight. Now, when I say trying to simulate, it's never going to get it perfectly. It'll get very close, don't get me wrong. But it's never going to get it perfectly, which is why just natural light therapy, it's for free, it's just outside. Open your door. Now, the underlying theory behind it is that the light reduces your melatonin, naturally, the stuff that lets you or triggers you to start falling asleep. It reduces the melatonin production in your brain, and it increases the serotonin production, the feel-good stuff, the stuff that gets you to be awake and happy and all the good stuff. So how do you use this? So for best results, you use a light box that's around what they call 10,000 lux. You can look into it if you're going to go look for one. And you're going to be trying to use it for about 30 minutes to 60 minutes every morning, shortly after waking up. And then around the same time each day to help reset and reinforce your circadian rhythm. This will really help with those people who have a ridiculously early start in the morning. Immediately in my mind, I get baker or someone with that kind of trade where they have to be up at like 4 a.m. to begin baking for the day so that when the rest of the world is up, there is some bread available. But think about newscasters or news presenters who do like a 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. show, 5 a.m. show. So there is someone on the TV to listen to for all the people who are just waking up at 7 o'clock. They need to be up and ready, dressed and camera presentable. So using a light box for those people could actually work really well, because they don't have the option of stepping outside and enjoying the natural sunlight because they're up at an ungodly hour. So with this, you've got, most people will notice improvements in your symptoms of SAD within about a month, so long as you've used it consistently. However, light therapy has been shown to trigger mania if used incorrectly, or just if used in some cases. If you've got things like a history of bipolar disorder or anything that causes a manic episode, it's highly recommended that you speak to your doctor, your GP, before trying it. There's also the kind of flip side of it, and it's what we call like a dawn simulator. Now, I've got one. I've just got a standard Philips Hue light bulb in my bedroom, but you can set some things on it to automatically turn on and gradually brighten over 30 minutes to 45 minutes to 60 minutes before your alarm starts going off. That's one way I've kind of done it, but there are products out there that simulate dawn in similar ways. There's alarm clocks you can get that turn on a little light or a lamp and slowly start brightening up throughout the day. So that's an option, because the light still bleeds through your eyelids and wakes you up and tells your body it's time to start waking up. Right, next, talking therapies. So talking therapies focus on how your brain works and how you end up interacting with the world. That's probably the simplest way I can put it. You've got things like CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, this therapy is specifically based on the idea that your thoughts and behaviors affect how you feel. Now, by changing how you think about certain situations and what actions you take, you can also start to feel better or feel differently. Whereas, so a good example would be, from my experience of CBT, one of the strongest things that affected me was, and it took me a very long to understand this, was to stop using the word should. And initially it was just a verbal jujitsu kind of move thing, I think. That's how I interpreted it. Stop using the word should. What do I do in its place? Okay. But once I practiced it and eventually started studying psychology and started using what I'd learned, I quickly realized the use of the word should already implies that you have failed to achieve something. That's how we use it. I know I should wake up at 7 a.m. You've already predetermined that you've failed at the thing that you've... And then you kind of like take this nihilistic view and you don't really care. Which is why we know all these things that we should do, but we don't do them. Because you've already failed at the action that you wanted to take. So what do? You replace it with, I would like to. Immediately, in changing just the words that you use, makes you feel differently about the thing that you thought you should do. So, for example, I know I should make my bed in the mornings. I've already failed at that in my head. But changing that phrase to, I'd like to make my bed in the mornings, that's something actionable. Which means if it didn't happen today, I would like to do it, so the following morning I'll get up and might actually make an effort to do it. Whereas if I say, I should make my beds in the morning, or I should make my bed in the morning, doesn't make anything actionable. It's predetermined your failure and left it at that. So anyway, that's one way cognitive behavior therapy can help you. The other option is counseling and psychodynamic psychotherapy, that kind of stuff. This involves talking about your worries, your problems, and discussing them, discussing your past experiences, and see if those are affecting how you feel or act or behave today. And they can give you some really good options as to how to change your behavior or change how you feel or reinterpret some life occurrences. And again, this is all stuff that might help with your SAD, seasonal affective disorder. And the final thing, medication. I've left medication on last on purpose. Because, from my understanding, there are some medication are overprescribed, in my opinion. But antidepressants are sometimes used, and particularly for severe cases of depression, for SAD, for those kind of things, you've got things that they call selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs. They're the preferred type of antidepressant at the moment for depression, SAD, those kind of things. And you take them because they're thought to be most effective if you start in the beginning of winter or in the day or before your symptoms start appearing. And they continue through to spring, specifically for SAD this is. But you do have to be aware that medicine can take 4, maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks in some cases to take effect. Now, that is a long process to go through with, in my opinion, a fairly even 50-50 chance of working. And here's the other thing. There are 4, as far as I can tell or understand, there's 4, maybe 5, I'm not going to talk about the 5th one, there's 4 known cures for depression, let's say, or effective things to reduce depression or remove depression, or the elements of depression. And they happen to be, medication, you've got therapy, you've got extreme stuff like electroconvulsive therapy, getting electrocuted, and then you've got exercise. And then I'll mention it, there is something to do with some hallucinogenics, but I don't want to touch that subject at the moment, so I'm going to leave it off of this list for now. So those are the known effective cures, if not responses, to depression. Now, in terms of reliability, in my opinion, and when I mean reliability, which one of those 4 things are the most to least effective? Medicine's quite kind of like near the bottom. The most effective thing for depression is exercise. Something as little as 20 minutes a day of brisk walking is more effective in alleviating depression or depression symptoms and helping you feel better than all the other things. It's better than being electrocuted in the brain. After that, after exercise, it's talking therapy. Those are the two most effective, non-invasive, non-hormone manipulating ways, or artificially manipulating your hormones to cure your depression. And then you've got medication. And then you've got electrocuting your brain. Electroconvulsive therapy. So, why would you opt for medication first? Opt for the easy, low-hanging fruit options first. Don't jump straight for medication. Go, okay, I'll try the 20-minute walk every day. Brisk walk every day. Try that for a month. Because you're going to have to try medications for a month, if not more, before you see if that works or not. So let's just try exercise. It's free. Don't have to see a GP for it in most circumstances. And then go on from there. If walking didn't help, talk to your GP, because your healthcare provider should, there's that word again, should help you. And then maybe try therapy of some sort, counseling of some sort. If that doesn't help, then maybe consider medication. And if then it doesn't help, maybe electroconvulsive. I say it maybe as if you have an option when that comes about. It's a bit more of a dark path than people realize. So, seasonal affective disorder. It is a serious condition, and it can be quite debilitating, similar to depression. You're not alone. There's many, many people in the UK, as I said, up to like 2 million. I said in the States, 65, 70 million. The rest of the world, probably around the same kind of percentages. If your symptoms are severe, if they're persistent more than a couple of weeks, or if you're feeling completely overwhelmed, it is crucial to speak to your doctor, your health provider, your healthcare provider. They can help create a personalized plan for you, because you are an individual. You have other issues, or you have other considerations that only your healthcare provider can bear in mind. They'll help plan and make those long winter months brighter, if not bearable. So contact your GP, your doctor, your primary healthcare provider, your teacher, your student services. Check on the NHS resources. You can seek mental health support online. There's many, many places out there. There's people who have trained advisors, trained people to help you, ready to listen and ready to signpost you to the appropriate right places. So, taking that first step is difficult. I'm not going to elude you otherwise. But self-care does mean seeking help when you need it.